What's up? Welcome to Focus Daily TV. Here on Focus Daily TV, we speak about biblical prophecy and how it applies directly right here in America. America, which just so happens to be the birthright of the children of God, commonly known as African Americans, Afro Americans, our black ass. So lately we've been dealing with HJR 192, House Joint Ruling, which began the confiscation of our gold, our resources, and in exchange bound us to a demonic banking system, a demonic economic system, currently known as fiat, which is based purely on the souls of men, as Revelation speaks of, souls of men being traded and sold on the market, bond men and bond women, as Deuteronomy speaks of. So we've been investigating what took place to actually bring about this current state of fiat economy. And as usual, we got another film today. I'm going to chime in. Let's get to it.
The Federal Reserve System was born from the Panic of 1907, one of a number of short but sharp business contractions in the 19th and early 20th centuries. An attempt by a Montana man named Augustus Heinze to buy up all the country's copper failed, which led to runs that ruined many banks in New York and around the country. Millionaire banker J.P. Morgan, a man hated by most leftists, actually pledged his own money to pull the private economy and the federal government out of the ditch.
So I got another YouTube channel called Focus Daily Show. We spoke about how J.P. Morgan literally bought the American corporation, and he became the guiding stone of this evil corporation. It was him and his cohorts on Jekyll Island who conjured this evil plan to bond men and women through birth certificates, social security number, registration, reclassification. J.P. Morgan led the way. Let's see what they say.
In many banks in New York and around the country. Millionaire banker J.P. Morgan, a man hated by most leftists, actually pledged his own money to pull the private economy and the federal government out of the ditch. At the time, the U.S. had no central bank that could make money appear out of nothing. The U.S. was on the gold standard, $20 to an ounce of gold. The phrase, sound as a dollar, was a common testament to how the country kept its money in top condition. But intellectuals and economists kept holding the government banks of England and Germany as a better way of managing a national economy. No one knew then that in the early 1920s, after World War I, the German mark would be inflated so much that it was cheaper to put bills on the wall than buying wallpaper.
So, how did this occur? They introduced an economic panic or worldwide panic. Depends on worldwide economic panic. It depends on where each individual is located in this scenario. But I'm speaking specifically of America. So they created a false depression, a false market crash, a false economic recession in order to change the system over to one that they had already prepared and needed the people to consider to be a better solution. Spiritually, we lost sight of God and we turned our sight to false gods, depending on them to lead the way. Money changers. Let's go.
President William Howard Taft kept the Federal Reserve Bill from becoming law. But in 1912, Teddy Roosevelt's ego got the better of him, and he decided to run against Taft, his hand-picked successor. Roosevelt's daughter once said her dad wanted to be the bride at every wedding and the corpse at every funeral. Certainly he missed being president. Taft and TR split the Republican vote and let Woodrow Wilson win the presidency. Wilson, a one-worlder who viewed the country.
So, as many conspiracy theories suggest, the Federal Reserve is just nothing but another corporate extension of the American corporation that at this point J.P. Morgan had complete control of. Once again, on Jekyll Isle, all those conspiracies, they created a system of government which was based upon, this is the important part, the souls of men. From the moment you're born and you registered birth certificate, social security number, you become bound to this worldly system of economic corporate government. Pay attention.
Constitution is just a bunch of suggestions pushed through the Federal Reserve Bill in 1913, the same year he got the first personal income tax passed. The Federal Reserve was made up of 12 member banks.
So it was a lot of firsts: income tax, fiat, registration, birth certificates, social security. All of this just occurred in the recent past. And it is a main key point of when us as a people, African Americans I'm speaking to, lost sight of God, our Father which art in heaven, our Heavenly Father, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and turned our sight to a corporate, corrupt, governmental scheme whose whole goal and guidelines were to destroy us, crucify us, and resurrect themselves into our position. 13th and 14th Amendment.
Spread around the country, put there for political reasons, and despite its name, it was not a government entity. The need for a crucial vote from a Missouri senator in 1913 for political reasons, and despite its same year, he got the first personal income tax passed. The Federal Reserve was made up of 12 member banks spread around the country, put there for political reasons, and despite its name, it was not a government entity. The need for a crucial vote from
It was a corporation.
From a Missouri senator in 1913 led to not one but two of the 12 banks being put in Missouri, in Kansas City and St. Louis. The presidents of these banks and other political appointees would make up the Fed's Board of Governors. From the start, the Fed was a political operation, doing whatever the party in charge of Washington wanted. Americans of that day were rightfully
J.P. Morgan
concerned about the federal government being able to make money out of nothing, since until then $20 had been worth an ounce of solid gold for decades. As economist Thomas Woodward noted in a book on the Fed in
The gold and silver is mine, said the Lord. This is all biblical. We've just been blinded and aren't able to see the biblical connection because they're teaching us to deny God. They're teaching us to turn to more false gods, Kemet and Buddha and chakras and crystals and all that nonsense. This is the key. We need to come back home to the Lord before we can receive our true blessings. Hit that like button, subscribe, support the channel, hashtag Focus Daily TV. Let's go.
1996, people often ask what backs the paper currency the Fed turns out. The short answer, he wrote, is nothing. There are no real assets, public or private, that are...
Now, that's some deep code. Under the color of law, black means nothing. Black means nothing, emptiness. Once they classified us as black through birth certificates and social security cards and whatnot, registration, black or Negro or whatever, African American, we lost our status. So the nothing that he is speaking of is our black ass. All right. Yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Continue to come back. There's more to come, more great news to come. Hit that like button, subscribe, support the channel. Hashtag Focus Daily TV.